Honorable Nguban, the administrator is here. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, from my side, first and foremost, I heard the administrator said he has submitted the stabilisation plan or strategy to the minister. Well, what I would like us to request is that he submit it to us as well, so that we see that what his plan is going to address on stabilizing, what is he stabilizing, which wasn't stable or wasn't going on with the institution. So if we can get that document. Because when I was looking at the presentation, comparing with the previous presentations of the NSFAS, to me, Chair, I didn't saw anything new, to tell you the truth. That's why even in the beginning, when the administrator was introduced to us, I said it vehemently that we do not support this putting NSFAS under administration because we thought that the NSFAS was now taking off at that time. So as an intro, if we can have that report so that we can see that where are we moving from where we were with the NSFAS. Right, on my first question, Administrator, there was an article by the Daily Maverick that says you seems to be preferring the finer things in life. They're saying you bakhuluma ngezinto zoma cigar noma champagne. The reason why they say that is because the quagmire probably they had was that you've been onboarded, but there's no terms of conditions for your service. Hence, the question is, what barometer or what instrument do you use to measure yourself? Because even on that article, they're talking about that you sleeping in 2 hotels, exotic hotel, and you book here, you don't sleep here, you move to another one. And they claim that you, in Cape Town, you hire German SUV cars. So these are the claim, and as well as the relocation cost from on the other side to Cape Town. Now the question is, with the absence of the terms of conditions, how then do you limit yourself to say, for example, us, me and Cezanne, we know that a hotel, we're sleeping in a certain minimum hotel. If it's 800 Rand or 600 Rand, I can't go beyond because I'm employed, so there's a limit. How do you limit yourself or measure yourself to say when there's no terms of conditions? On saying which car to hire, which flight to take, business class or economy class, which hotel do you book, the eating pattern. For example, when we went out as MPs, we were given, I think, 350 Bama drinks. We have a limit. So now the question is on your side, what conditions are you using on all these things I've mentioned? Hotel, car hire, spend, accommodation, and all those stuff. If you can give me that feedback, sir.
Yeah. No, thanks so much, Honorable Ngubane, for those questions. I think let's start first with your first opening remarks. The stabilization plan is a requirement of the government gazette that I must submit it to the minister. The minister must decide to whom he wants to release it to. I would suggest that you request it from the minister and the minister supply it to you if it is that he should supply it to you. I have done my part. So I think that's the first part. Let me deal with the questions you're raising, and I don't want to trivialize the issues you raise, but certain media in this country have tended to want to sensationalize something that is really not necessary to sensationalize. I have been appointed as an administrator to leave my house in Limpopo to come to Cape Town. I don't select a hotel where I must stay. I stay within the limits that the people at NSFAS book me. I don't determine a car I should drive. And I do know that the people at NSFAS have consistently booked me a particular category, which is Corolla and the likes. And it is quite possible, and it has been the case in many instances, that when those cars were booked, I have been upgraded, not at the cost of NSFAS, right? No, at my own cost. I've been upgraded by the a high rental car company, which means that NSFAS has not paid the difference between any car I would have driven to the car that would have been booked. So the NSFAS would have paid for the category car of a Corolla or similar for me to travel around. So that's in respect of that issue relative to the issue of a car. When it comes to the issue about accommodation, I have raised this issue with NSFAS people that, it would have been great had NSFAS, since its establishment, had bought a house or an apartment in Cape Town, for which it will have used for any and other person that comes on business of NSFAS in Cape Town. This, the same way that director generals have a nominal rental for houses in Cape Town, the same way that parliamentarians are accommodated in a parliamentary village. It would have been the easier thing to do, rather than a scenario where I'm subjected to this scrutiny, which is unfair on me because I have not chosen a place where I must stay. Neither have I chosen or decided on the real estate prices in Cape Town, which is ridiculous for all intents and purposes. A one-bedroom, try find a one-bedroom in Cape Town for less than 20,000 rand, or whatever the case is. You are going to struggle to get a very good, reasonable place. And I think that maybe government should have foreseen this situation and really simply have acquired a place and place us. Even if they said to me, well, go stay in parliamentary village, I'm not a parliamentarian, but something similar, or go stay where DGs stay, I would have stayed there. I don't choose that. I don't believe that if I wanted to live a life of luxury, I will do that at the expense of NSFAS. I have worked in my life. I've been a senior executive. I have lived a luxurious life, and I don't think that I can do that at the expense of NSFAS. So it is really, I do need to state that it's really unfair, and people who want clickbaits and want to use, and this is what discredit newspapers, all right? And that story, they went and pull pictures of me in suits and put it in TikTok as if it's a crime for me to wear suits. I mean, I didn't buy that with my NSFAS money. I haven't even paid a cent from NSFAS. So I think that we need to be able to be realistic. Criticize me all you like, but criticize me from a fair basis. And the criticism that I have received so far are baseless, right? I've been put at the Westin. I didn't say put me at the Westin. I've been put at the Radisson. I didn't say put me at the Westin. I've been put at the Cape Sun. I didn't. Where the organization says you are going to sleep there, because that is where a government rate we are paying, it's there. I go there. Let me give you further information. Wherever I stay, NSFAS doesn't pay for my dinner. At the very least, they pay for my breakfast. They don't pay for my dinner. So the stories about living large, cigars, as you want to mention it, I mean, and I think it comes with the territory. NSFAS is a public entity, and we must be responsible about the way we use the funds of that particular entity. And we must accept, because it's taxpayers' money, that everybody will feel that they have a right to want to know how those monies are used, and anything they see, they will think that you are living largely, as they say. Let me deal with the issue of flights. I've never booked, or I have never been booked, a business class flight by NSFAS in the 3 months that I've been here. Have I flown business class? Yes, but it was not on account of the fact that NSFAS has booked me a business class. It has been on the account that I have a loyalty card that is at the category that the airline, whether it is SAA or it is Airlink, believes that they can upgrade me, and they have done so. But it was not because NSFAS had booked a business class. And my travels are available. As you can see, they even leak to newspapers. So you can be certain that we didn't book a business class.
Okay, I think thanks a lot, Administrator, for going an extra mile to answer that. But my main question was to say, underline it again, in the absence of terms of reference, what do you use to class yourself that as a CEO, as a manager, as an administrator, I can only go up to a group of H of cars, if there's that. For a flight, I can only go fly safer for, with my limit. I can go to 3,500 flight. I can't go beyond that. So that's what I'm asking. So, because I said to you, probably the reason they asked this question is because they were thinking about, in the absence of the conditions, terms of conditions, how then you are telling me that they book for you? Those who book for you, how do they know that administration of Cape Town this time around we must give him a Group H car? Since we're Cape Town tomorrow, we must give him a flight that goes up to a certain amount. Okay, for example, administrator now with the hotel, he must sleep on, because we know probably Fuchane Balalago Cape San, he cannot lay Westin, because it's exorbitant. She doesn't fit there according to government rate. So, so those are the things, Administrator, I'm asking on my basis to say, when with the absence of terms of reference, how then do they classify your limit or non-limit in that matter?
So thanks, Honorable. Again, I do say that, and I must start here. So what doesn't get reported is that I actually have signed a contract with the DG of Department of Higher Education and Training. I have, right? So those are terms of conditions exist in the Department of Higher Education and Training, and I cannot be responsible for when those get transmitted where and all that. I do what is required of me. As a person that has been appointed, from my perspective, I have fulfilled all that is required of me. I have not arrived at NSFAS and said, listen, this is what you book me. I have been very clear to the staff in my office, NSFAS must never lose money on my account. That is a clear instruction. So I've never, and I repeat this, I've never arrived and said, please book me X car. Said, whatever it is that you do, make sure that it is within the government rate, right? Make sure that it is allowed, right? Not that it must be, that was my preference. The only thing I may have said is I have a particular condition in respect of sinuses that get triggered by carpet mites and all sorts of. So I don't like that. So I would say, please, wherever you book, do make sure that it is not carpeted. And even then, when they couldn't find anything but only the Cape San, which has carpet, I stayed there for 3 days, despite that condition, despite the suffering that triggers my sinuses from that perspective. So if it is that I was making choices, it's a choice I wouldn't have made. I get told go there, I go there. I get told there's a car booked for you, you go. It's a class Corolla and or the same. I take that. When I arrive there and Avis says to me, no, we're giving you a BMW 3 Series because you are a president, a club member, which status I gained before I joined NSFAS. I can't say to Avis, don't give me a 3 Series, and somebody sees me driving a 3 Series and assume that I have booked a 3 Series. I didn't, right? They book Echo, and Echo says, look, we don't have this particular car, a Corolla or the like. We're giving you a VW Tiguan. I don't like the brand for that matter, but I drive it because that's what I've been given. But the only question I ask is, what did you book relative to what I've been given? I get assured who booked you a Corolla and of the same category, and then the company decided to give you a Tiguan, or they gave you a Volvo, a SC30, whatever the case is. For me, it is transport. If I want to drive a luxurious car, it will be a luxurious car that I have bought, that I pay for, and that nobody is gonna quibble with, because it will be my money that I'm using. But on state resources, no. I think we must be very clear about that. That would not have been my instruction, and that I will have made it very clear that it is not under my watch will I do that.
Yeah, maybe before. You've said you've signed the terms of service with the Department of Higher Education. What are those?
Yes, I did. I did sign in May.
What are those? What do they entail?
I do need to sign a, what do you call it? Did you live in? Yes.
And it has financial implications? No. It doesn't have.
Look, I mean, I don't have but it didn't contain any financial implication into it. So, but I have signed an SLA with the DG, which does state that irrespective of the date in which it is signed, its effective date is the 4th of May, consistent with the Government Gazette.
Okay, the reason I'm asking this is because you mentioned it when we're talking about the accommodation bookings there. So I thought maybe you were saying that it had those conditions about where you stay and all of that. It did not.
No, it doesn't, Chair. I think we must be very clear about that. And I do realize that the Chair does impute different meanings to things I say, because he needs to lead to a particular objective. But no. I was very specific in terms of the agreement I've signed with the DG. But again, I still say that in the direct response to the question that Honorable Ngubane is raising, that I have not insisted on a departure from what NSFAS would have paid for anyone, right? So and I really don't want to go into a space that we don't need to go to, and maybe when it becomes necessary, we will. But yeah, my accommodation is a function of the real estate in Cape Town, and the fact that NSFAS doesn't have a flat like departments will have to accommodate its staff. I wish NSFAS had that, and I had gone and I had arrived there and said, I'm not going to stay there. Then we'll be having a different conversation. But Cape Town's real estate is just very expensive. And the same applies to hotels. I get booked and I get told, listen, you are landing in Cape Town at this point. You are collecting a car at Avis or at Eco, and you are going to stay at this hotel, and that's where I go. Yeah. I don't make the choice.
No. I think that point was well made. I was asking about this because I must help you to communicate your message correctly. Sometimes when it's you who's communicating, you don't hear what other people might be hearing. So it's not that I have a certain objective to achieve. It's because I must make sure that the messages that get transmitted from here are understood to be in those contexts. Honorable, or you're covered? Okay. So you've also, I think in answering Honorable Guban, you've said there's not been any deviation from recognized, approved protocols on where you stay and what you drive. I think that's the point that you belabor the point on, because I think it was also important for yourselves to clarify that point. So maybe if you can, maybe to request whoever at NSFAS to request the agents to provide that information so that we're able to, if it's not true, then to rebut that particular thing. Because the narrative out there, I made a joke earlier on. I think the minister was still here when I said, or it was when we started your presentation, when I said, they're saying you're living large. I meant it as a joke, but I wanted you to address it, because the perception out there is they've painted a different picture. It might be a different picture from what is reality. Therefore, it's important for us to make sure that you are able to paint the correct picture. So if they can give us those, hotels, the what do you call this one? The cars and all of that, it will really assist. So even if the car will come and say you're driving an X3 30D, I'm making an example, 2025, but it will then have the pricing of a Corolla, if I'm using your own example. And then the explanation will be because we are upgraded, because we have a certain status with those particular people. So that, we had received an email yesterday afternoon, from a whistleblower was telling us that you are driving in luxurious German cars. So that is extremely important for us to get, so that we're able to communicate the factual things. But we can't rebut that statement when we have not seen what you are telling us about. Honorable Nguban.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Chair. It was on those bases that the non-existence of the terms of conditions, so as the Chair is saying, to say those that book for you, what drives them to book those classes of all logistics. And then on the other question, the presentation slides, it reports that there is a 10.49 billion of tuition is owed to universities, while 4.55 billion sits in the bank, and only 61.5% of the university allocation is paid. So if allowances are up to date, what exactly is blocking this tuition payment to the universities, these universities that are not paid?
Yeah. No, thanks, Honorable Ngubane. So, I think people will give you information that is intended to create chaos. And we must stay clear from people who want to create chaos. We owe universities about 10.4 billion. That is true. We do have in our bank account about 4.5 billion. That is true. But that money is money that must be paid at the end of this month to universities for tuition, for living allowances and accommodation and all those kind of things. If I took that money today and distributed it the way I like, or try to reduce the tuition that the universities are owed, come end of the month, there will be chaos because I will not have money to pay for student accommodation, for living allowances, and whatever portion of tuition I can be able to pay. So that is exactly that. So it's not like we holding off money that we think we have to act very responsibly to preserve an academic project of 2026, and that you can hold us accountable for, and we will discharge that responsibilities quite responsibly.
So the universities aren't owed that amount that they're saying they are being owed.
I've been very upfront. We do owe the universities 10.4 billion rand. That is because we have held back those amounts, and I made references to your Walter Sisulu University, your Forte, your Cape Town, your Stellenbosch. But the point in respect of the number that you just gave me now, of the money in the bank, I'm saying to you that money in the bank is money that I must distribute at the end of this month for tuition, for accommodation, for living allowances. If I use that money today, come end of the month, I will not have money to do exactly what I'm telling you. And DHET won't have the money, won't have given me the tranche to be able to pay that. So